will prosecute those cases. Secondly, I think it's safe to say if there's 100 members of the United States Senate, there were 100 different opinions exactly how this program worked. But in the end, people made compromise and worked together to get something. So thank you for mentioning that. This hearing is part of an official report that we are going to do. So we won't get to every question today. We're not going to, but there will be questions for the record too. So if something isn't asked today, we will be following up on. But there are a couple of things. We've talked about all the positive aspects. There's a couple of things people want to know about the hiccups along the way. Obviously, last, I think it's probably July, August, we ran into some things. I think that was on my chart of like we were way above everybody else returning to service. But we sent out letters asking airlines who had problems to tell us what those were about. If you're one of those airlines and you want to comment, if you could give us a comment on that. And then also on refunds, if we can just get a quick answer from people. I'm assuming that all airlines believe that if you were someone who wanted to travel during that period and your flight was canceled, and then something happened and where you didn't want to travel, that you could get a refund. And so if you could just also give me a comment on that. So do you want to start, Mr. Parker?
Sure. Operational issue, I put it in my written testimony. In the end of October, we at American had a serious operational issue. It was driven by an extraordinary event, winds at Dallas-Fort Worth of all places that shut down 3 of the 5 runways. It's our largest hub. When that happens over 2 days, we end up with airplanes in the wrong place, people in the wrong place. So that was the driver of the vast majority of the cancellations. But in this environment, even though we are adequately staffed, it gets unfortunately uncharacterized and misproperly characterized as we don't have enough people. As I said in my testimony, we have more pilots per pilot block hour, flight attendants per flight attendant block hour than we've had in the past. In this environment, unfortunately, though, it's difficult to get people to pick up extra time, is what we're finding. So which is what we need in that time, and that was the case there. It's largely related to what Ms. Nelson said about some of what's going on in the aircraft. It's related to COVID, but we just don't have the ability to recover as quickly. Now, fortunately, those large events don't happen very often. But when they do, at least for us, we've had it much harder to recover than we had in the past. So it extended longer than it would have otherwise. It was a seriously disruptive event that would have resulted in hundreds of cancellations on its own. The fact that it took 2 days longer, we were troubled by, but that's the reason why we really do have difficulty versus prior to the pandemic right now. I think that'll pass, by the way. But this is the environment we're in right now. It's a different job than people have been working. We've called people back from leaves that were on leave that weren't ready to be called back from leave. So people are doing a great job, a phenomenal job, showing up, doing their jobs, doing it right. But when we need extra hours, working by the minimum hours, it's hard to find. So that was our case. As to refunds, of course we agree exactly with what you said, and indeed we at American issued $3.2 billion of refunds in 2020, in 3 quarters of 2020, and our revenues over the last 3 quarters of 2020 was $7.5 billion. We issued nearly as much in refunds as we had in revenue, or half as much rather, over the 3 quarters.
This is in refunds versus a voucher or something.
Yeah, absolute cash refunds, $3.2 billion.
Okay.
So yeah, we took the position that you stated, which is if we cancel a flight, of course the customer's entitled to a refund, and we issue those in cash.
Okay. Others?
Yeah, my report is very similar, and it's a matter of getting adjusted to, I think, this pandemic reality that we're all dealing with, and we just need to make sure that we don't overschedule the airline relative to the people resources that we have, and we've made a number of adjustments in that regard, but much for the same reasons that Doug was describing there. Refunds. The refunds are obviously required when we cancel the flight. Refunds are required within 7 days of the need for the refund, and we're totally in compliance with that. Our refund rate in 2020 was double what was normal, even though the revenues were a fraction of what they were historically. So I feel like, we've taken very good care of our customers in that regard.
Okay, I'm going to have to get the rest of you for the record because my time is up. But I do want everybody to address that issue, including the airlines that aren't here, and if they can, give us answers in writing for that, that would be great. Senator Wicker.
Thank you very much. Let me ask about air quality. Mr. Lauder, in your testimony, you say